Hi, I'm Natasha Langfelder and I'm the features editor of Gay E-Magazine. I'm here with Gabrielle Lindau, screenwriter, co-producer, and director of the short film These Showers Can Talk. Hi Gabrielle, thank you so much for being with me today.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks for having me here.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about what These Showers Can Talk is about.
Well, These Showers Can Talk is a short comedy about lesbians, dating, and stereotypes.
You said that the film explores lesbian dating as it relates to existentialism. Can you explain a little bit to our readers what you mean by that?
Existentialism is a small factor in it. I was introduced to existentialism when I was taking a class called The Art of Film, and our professor had assigned us Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre. And so when I started reading Nausea, I started to see that this guy was having a really big problem with all of his relationships in the world, and he was having a hard time with his own reality and his own being. And he felt that everything around him was defining who he was, whether it was inanimate objects or people. And so I said, oh, how interesting. What if my lead character would have somewhat of an existential crisis, and she felt as though she was being defined by the stereotypes within the lesbian community that surround her. And that's how we take her throughout the day to visit these lesbian stereotypes, who happen to be your best friends, so that's where the relationship aspect comes in.
Was it difficult for you to kind of walk the line between funny and offensive, or?
I never felt like I was walking the line. I came up with the idea, and I showed a few close friends of mine who are actors in the industry, and I said, this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to try and make it happen. And then I casted the actors, and when I went through each of their characters with them, we were just laughing. And so to all of us, it was comedy that we were making. We never felt like we were being controversial or walking any line, and we weren't setting out to offend anyone anyway whatsoever.
I guess how much of the film, if any of it, is based on your personal experiences?
Well, interestingly enough, I came up with the idea for These Showers Can Talk when I went to visit a friend one morning who was getting ready for a lunch date. And I was in the bathroom with her, and I was just sitting on she was in the shower, I was sitting on the sink, and we were talking about the date that she was about to go on.
And because the film is all about queer dating, tell us your worst date ever story.
Ooh, my worst dating ever story. I gotta tell you, right off the bat, I think what's really bad for one person can be really good for another person. And if you check out the film, you'll get to see how we explore that in Maggie's scene. But in general, if I had to think about it, I went lesbian speed dating once, and that was a little bit of a nightmare for me. Not because of the people, but because of the actual atmosphere. It was complete insanity. I felt like I was on a business interview, and they only gave us 3 minutes with each person, and I kept finding all these nice people who I wanted to talk to.
I really want to talk about the poster for the film and some of the iconography for it. You know, it features, if you've been following Gay E-Magazine, there have been ads which shows 3 women in the shower. They're all naked, and it's very cute. Check out the magazine. Why did you decide to go with such provocative imagery?
At the time, I didn't think of it as provocative imagery. I commissioned an artist named Sam Girgis to design the illustration for this movie poster, and I told him about the movie, and he had asked me if I have any stills from the film. This was in the wintertime before we had begun principal photography. I did have a few stills of some of the actresses in a couple of the scenarios, and so I showed him one of the scenes, which happened to be Genevieve's scene. And if you recall, I mentioned in my director's statement that there's a game of peekaboo happening in that scene in the bathroom. And Sam took that photograph and he developed this poster. And so you'll have to see the film to see how the poster actually resembles what's happening in the film and is somewhat of a mirror to that scene. But I also know that the issue of a breast being exposed and a nipple was somewhat controversial. And during the wintertime, I was actually going through a scare with breast cancer. And to me, seeing a breast and a nipple was one of the most beautiful things that I could have seen at that time, and still is today. I don't see it as pornography or exploitation showing that. Also, I am from the fashion industry on an international level, and I'm used to seeing women with their nipples in magazines and sensual poses in everything from French Vogue to Italian Vogue on a regular basis, so it didn't seem that provocative to me at the time.
Okay. How did you go about casting for the film? How did you meet the actors? How did you kind of say, these are my characters?
Yeah, it was really an amazing process. I did have to go through a couple of actors to get where we are today. And just to tell you in a nutshell, I had a roster that I was going through of close friends of mine who were actors. And right now, mostly all of them are in this film. And I told them about the story, and I said, this is the situation. Would you like to be on board? And they said, yes, I'd love to. And so these actors are everyone from gay, straight, and in between. I didn't specifically target gay actors only. I wanted to have a diverse cast, so that means I have everybody from all different types of backgrounds. We have black people, we have Hispanic people, we have white people, we have chubby people, skinny people, red hair people, blondes, brunettes, and the list goes on. And that's part of why I wanted to do this film, is because it's about being who you are and not being pinned into a stereotype of having to look a certain way.
You directed a music video with Lori for her song The Right, which focuses on marriage equality. And in the video, you create kind of a cinematic profile of the anti-marriage equality crusaders. What techniques did you really use to focus and create that portrait of them?
This was a very challenging job for me because it was so emotional to have to look at some of the things that we were looking at. Our art department based all of their picket signs off of real photographs that I researched and Lori Michaels researched with me of anti-marriage equality protesters in America. And it was very sad to see some of these signs and the horrible things that were written on them. It was also very heartbreaking to look at the children who were exploited into being put in those situations and fighting for something that their parents are forcing them to fight for. So I have my cameraman using running techniques, or specifically shaking the camera a little bit so it looked like we were creating the anxiety of an actual protest.
So it's a little known fact about you that you were on Sex and the City.
This was an amazing experience for me because I was an extra for one day in the second to last episode. So I felt like I was a part of history being here in New York, and I also had a big awakening. It was, for me, the founding moment when I decided that it was time for me to start segueing into film and TV. I had been doing photography back in the late 90s, and when I had the opportunity to be on Sex and the City, I was exposed to all the amazing behind-the-scenes things that were happening. The lights, the cameras, the action, so to say. And of course the girls were great. I played a cocktail waitress in the restaurant that they were eating in. But I have to say, it really was an inspirational moment for me to be there.
And I guess now that you've wrapped shooting, I know that you have a really intense promotional schedule for These Showers Can Talk. What cities will you be hitting when?
We do. New York City, Washington, D.C., Miami, Atlanta, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. They can catch the whole film by making it out to the premieres or giving me a phone call or email, and we'll see how we can make it happen.
Great. For upcoming projects.
We're currently taking meeting with networks.
Oh, so congratulations.
Thank
And do
you.
you have any plans for maybe a full-length film this time?
Well, I am working on several new projects. As I said, we're taking meetings with networks for These Showers Can Talk. But we do have some exciting projects on the forefront, one of them being the History of Mixtape with DJ Mars. You have to keep your eye out for this one. It's going to be fun and it's going to be great. And I'm also in the process of development for the Bling Bling Gang, which is a comedy about an international gang of drug smugglers who love high fashion.
You can check out more about These Showers Can Talk at theseshowerscantalk.com, and you can also check out their Facebook fan page. Thanks again.
Thank you.